Would you look at that? You can farm all the Incarnons this week in an instant. What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video, coming at you with a look at the new Incarnon weapon adapters. So instead of doing the circuit like a peasant, just make your way to Curtis right here and he'll present you with the Incarnon Market. This is a store where you can buy all the new Incarnons released this week. They cost 120 platinum each. I see some of you already dreading the Pathos Clamp farm. Well, wipe that grim look off your face, as this thing is worth the 120 plat, as it has all the resources required to infuse every single adapter onto your weapons. Ah yes, the sweet, sweet smell of pay to win. This is actually good because the circuit got way too repetitive, boring, and buggy. You know, the usual. Well, Nightmare, how are the weapons since you clearly bought them all? About that, unfortunately I do not own the Anku, nor do I want to spend my plat or bother getting it. And you'll understand after I showcase these weapons. So I just got the guns. Some were decent, but then the others were just like, Anyway, what I want to say is, all of these weapons are mid AF. Alright, let's take a look at each one of these Incarnon guns with a simple rundown. The Boar Prime is a high status shotgun, but the evolutions are mediocre, not to mention the reload speed is horrendous. That means going into Incarnon will take a while, and the only reload perk that you get is reloading from empty. It turns the shotgun into a beam weapon when activated, with beams that split and try to latch onto enemies. Think of it like the Vermisplicer, but less hentai. The Incarnon is innate heat, with meh stats. These are the evolutions I got. Made a build with Viral Hunter munitions that does this. A corrosive build, which is copium. And I tried making a viral heat build, but the damage was just not there. And you can also use this weapon in its non-incarnate form and still do something. Looking at one of the crappy ones, Gorgon. Let me say this one thing. Everything you hate about the lens is in this Incarnon mode, but made worse. The Incarnon is innate heat with garbage stats. You'll lose a lot of fire rate. The Incarnon mode is a charge shot that has you sit there for a year before you can blow your load, as the Incarnon shoots out a radial explosion with a 1.2 second delay that tickles enemies to death. These are the evolutions. Don't waste your time on this weapon in its Incarnon mode. It is way better in its normal mode. Can you believe that you have more KPM in a single target mode than an AoE mode? It's hilarious. Oh yeah, the augment that petrifies enemies doesn't work on this Incarnon. If that's what you're thinking, then stop. Moving on, looking at the Gammacor, my former beloved. This used to be one of my most used secondaries. The Incarnon is a meme, but it's a fun meme, and that's about it. So, stick a laser into people's faces to charge Incarnon mode to then have it turn into what we would have expected the magnetic status effect would do. It's a radial suck.
Like a radial suck?
More radial suck.
We want some radial suck. Was it doing a radial suck?
Yeah, this AoE has a 1.2 second delayed explosion as well, but it sucks in enemies before blowing its load. The Incarnon has innate cold instead of heat. Even though it's bonus cold, it's nothing impressive. You may think of slapping secondary shiver, but you won't apply enough procs to make it viable. Its explosions look like it force procs cold, so it's nice for some crit damage increase. However, the damage is so bad, it's laughable. So for the people thinking about using Hemorrhage on this weapon, well, don't. It's only on the initial hit, because the AoE does not proc impact for you to even take advantage of this mod. There are talks of it being bugged where a portion of its damage isn't being registered. You know, just the usual Incarnon weapon bugs that all of them have. But wait, if you want some funny gas damage memes, it's copium, but it does something as it groups enemies for you, but that's about it. But now the Giga Chat of this week. Angstrum, the meme gun turned into a Maliwan pistol from Borderlands 3. So the normal mode is absolute garbage. If you land a hit on the enemy's face, you can charge your Incarnon in one shot. Here are the evolutions. Once you're in its Incarnon mode, it shoots out these balls of fire that have slight tracking to the body, and once the shots hit, it ricochets to the closest targets. So this ricochet is really nice to easily build up Cascadia Flare, which will be my base damage. You want to prioritize on projectile flight speed to increase the speed and lifespan of the projectiles. And not only that, I paired this bad boy with Mirage. So let me run down this build real quick. This is a Mirage where you replace Eclipse with Zata's Whisper. Unfortunately, you can't have both of these abilities on a Warframe. And now what makes Zata unique is that it imbues your weapons with void damage. This is a neutral damage type that doesn't have any bonuses or weaknesses, and it is not true damage. Zata's Whisper deals a separate instance of damage and does not combine with any of your weapon's modded elements. It scales of strength, equipped weapon mods, and a percentage of your weapon's total damage. So base damage, critical multiplier, elemental damage, and faction damage will also be factored into your damage output. And faction mods apply to your weapon's damage, and that damage will be multiplied a second time to make a double dip. Any other damage buffs or multipliers that affect your weapon will also affect the damage output on Zata's Whisper. I will also be utilizing the Void status effect here. Any part of the body shot with Void damage will create a small dome around that area and have all the projectiles redirected to the initial impact point. For example, shoot the head, bullets redirect to the head. Now when the Angstrum Incarnon shots hit the enemy, proccing the Void bubble, and the projectile that are ricocheting will be trapped in the bubble, bouncing back and forth, and dealing damage to the enemy trapped within it. And once the enemy dies, the bubble disappears and the projectile will burst out, hitting nearby enemies. And when the projectiles leave, they have a chance to create more void bubbles, attracting more bullets. This all sounds pretty dandy if your Angstrum doesn't just one-shot enemies. Along with this synergy, I'll be using the Hall of Mirrors augment, called Hall of Malevolence, which will give my holograms a 50% multiplicative damage bonus. Unfortunately, the damage boost you get from the augment is not affected by strength, but the holograms have their own damage multiplier. Taking a look at the build, brief respite in the aura for the energy to shield conversion, strength at 322% with transient blind rage, augur secrets, and umbral intensify. This takes my Zata's Whisper to 83% void damage and giving my holograms a 64% damage multiplier. For the arcades, I got Energize for the energy replenishment, Molt Augmented for even more strength, because why not? You don't want to equip Arcane Velocity because you don't want any more fire rate on the Angstrum, as it will blow its load way too quickly. Have a Sentinel carrying a secondary Sentinel weapon just for the 2 Augur mods, otherwise take whatever you want. For the focus schools, I suggest using Vazarin for that protective sling. As you have the 5 seconds of invulnerability, you have some time to aim at the enemy's faces, because this weapon sucks in its normal mode. High recoil, slow fire rate, 3 shots in the chamber, and an annoying reload speed. Also, don't use this weapon with any glaive as it bugs it out, because you will lose sight of your weapon and it won't make any sound. Alright folks, these are the Incarnon Guns of this week. I do hope you've enjoyed this video and learned something from it. I spent my plat, so you don't have to. Anyway, folks, that has been it for me. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace. Bye-bye now.